You already own the thing that ends this tonight. It is sitting in your kitchen right now, in the back of a cabinet, maybe by the stove. A little yellow box you paid less than $1 for. Baking soda. And that box will do what the $40 sprays and the sticky traps and the man in the white truck could never quite finish. It will get rid of the roaches. It will get rid of the ants for good. I know how that sounds. Believe me, I do. But this is not a trick I read on the internet last week. This is how my people have done it for as long as anyone can remember. Long before there was a pest control aisle. Long before there was a truck that pulls up to your house once a month and leaves a bill on your door. We never needed any of that. And in a few minutes, you will understand why you never did either. Now stay with me, because right around the middle of all this, I am going to show you the exact way my grandfather mixed this up on the kitchen table. The precise recipe, the amounts, where to put it and where never to put it, the way that clears a house for less than the price of a cup of coffee, the way the plain folks have always done it. And there is somebody who would rather you never hear it, because there is a great deal of money in your bug problem. An entire industry built on the idea that you cannot solve this yourself, that you need their chemicals, their contracts, their special equipment. They have no reason on this earth to tell you that the answer was in your baking cabinet the whole time. None at all. But before I get into it, do me one small favor. Tell me down in the comments what you are fighting. Just type the word roaches, or type the word ants, or type both if the good Lord has truly tested you this year. And tell me what state you are in. I want to see where folks are struggling most, because the bugs are worse in some places than others, and I read every one. I grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, plain home. No electric the way you know it. And I will tell you, the old farmhouse my grandfather kept had a summer kitchen out back where we did the canning when the heat came. Warm, damp, full of food. If there was ever a place a roach wanted to live, it was that room in the month of August. And yet, I can count on one hand the times I saw one in there as a boy, because my grandmother kept her line of defense the way her mother taught her. A plain white powder along the baseboards. I thought it was flour. It was not flour. Let me tell you what it really was and why it works, because once you understand the why, you will never spend another dollar on the fancy stuff again. Here is the thing nobody at the store will explain to you about a roach. A roach cannot belch. It cannot pass gas the way you and I can. Its little body is not built to let pressure out. That sounds like a small thing. It is not a small thing. It is the whole secret. When a roach eats baking soda, and then it goes and drinks even a drop of water, something happens inside that hard little shell. The baking soda meets the moisture and the acids in its gut, and it begins to make gas. Carbon dioxide, the same fizz you see when you drop a tablet in a glass of water, except this fizz has nowhere to go. The pressure builds. And the roach, which can survive being stepped on, which can live a week without its head, which can go without food for a month, cannot survive that. It is undone by a bubble. By something you bought for pocket change. Now, the English scientists have a fine word for all this. They will tell you about the bicarbonate reaction and the rigid exoskeleton and the inability to expel internal gas. Fancy talk. But entomologists at more than one land-grant university have looked into exactly this, and the plain finding is that sodium bicarbonate mixed with the food the roach wants kills it from the inside. Not because it is poison. It is not poison. It is gas the bug cannot release. My grandfather did not know the word bicarbonate. He knew that the powder worked and the store-bought tin did not work any better, so why on earth would a careful man pay 10 times the price? Here is how you do it. Listen close, because the mistake most folks make is they put the baking soda out plain, and then they wonder why the roaches walk right past it. A roach will not eat baking soda by itself. It has no smell. It likes. You have to give the bug a reason to take a bite. So you mix it, equal parts, 1 spoon of baking soda, 1 spoon of plain white sugar. The sugar is the dinner bell. The roach comes for the sweet and swallows the trap right along with it. Stir them together in an old jar. Then you find the places a roach travels at night. Behind the stove, under the refrigerator, the dark gap beneath the sink where the pipe goes into the wall. Along the baseboard in the corner where the broom never quite reaches, the roach hates the open. It runs the edges of a room always touching a wall with its body. So you lay your powder along those edges. A thin line, not a pile, a line they have to cross. And here is the part the careful folks know. You set a little water nearby. A bottle cap will do, because the baking soda needs the water to do its work inside the bug. Give the roach the sweet, let it carry off the powder, and let it find the drink. That is the whole machine. Sugar, soda, water. 3 things. Maybe $1 altogether. You leave it. You do not sweep it up the next morning the way you want to. You leave it for a good 2 weeks, freshening the line every few days, especially after you mop, because water on the floor will spoil the powder before the bug ever gets to it. Most folks see the numbers drop in the first week. A heavy house takes the full 2 weeks, sometimes 3, but it works on the nest, not just the bug you can see. Because a roach is a filthy little thing, and when one dies, the others come and eat it. They carry the soda right back into the wall to the ones you will never see. The trap spreads itself. That is something no spray can do, because the spray kills the messenger before it can carry the message home. Now, you are sitting there thinking, if it is this simple, why have I been paying a man with a truck? Hold that thought, because that is exactly the question they do not want you asking, and we are going to get to the bottom of it. And that is worth sitting with for a moment, because this kind of knowledge, the kind that saves you real money and puts the power back in your own hands, is exactly what has been quietly disappearing from our homes for generations. If you want to go deeper into these old-fashioned remedies and plain folk methods, I put everything I know into a book called The Garden Blueprint: Old-Fashioned Pest Cures That Cost Pennies, which is part of a full collection called the Complete Garden Field Edition. It covers not just bugs, but soil, storage, and the kind of self-reliant know-how that keeps you off the truck and contract cycle for good. You can find it linked in the description, and it costs less than 1 month of a pest control contract. Now let us get back to the ants, because the ant is a different animal, and the trick is close to the roach trick, but not quite the same, and if you get it wrong, you will swear the whole thing is a lie. An ant is not undone by gas the way a roach is. The ant is a smaller, neater creature, and the baking soda works on it a touch differently. When an ant takes in baking soda mixed with something sweet, it upsets the balance inside its body. An ant lives in a careful chemistry. It is a tiny thing in a tiny shell, and that powder throws off the acid in its system and dries it out from the inside. It cannot right itself. And the ant, like the roach, shares everything it finds. That last part is the whole game with ants. You have surely seen it. You kill the ones on the counter, and the next morning there are more in a line marching like they own the place. That is because the ones you see are nothing. They are the scouts, the workers. The real problem is the queen deep in the nest, who you will never lay eyes on, laying eggs all day long. Kill 1,000 workers, and she makes 1,000 more by the weekend. So you do not try to kill the ant on your counter. You let it work for you. You mix your baking soda with something a little finer than table sugar this time, powdered sugar, the confectioner's sugar your wife uses for frosting, equal parts again, 1-to-1, and stir it fine so the ant cannot pick out the sweet and leave the soda behind. The powdered sugar is so fine the ant cannot separate it. It has to take both or neither. Then you find the line. The ants will show you exactly where to put it, which is a kindness, because they walk the same trail every time. Follow them back to where they come in. A crack in the door frame, the little gap where the counter meets the wall, the windowsill. You put a small mound of your mix right on that trail, right where they march. And this is the hard part for a tidy person, you do not kill the ants you see. You let them find your little mound. You let them carry it home. Each ant takes a crumb of it back down into the nest and feeds it to the others and to the queen, and they carry your dollar's worth of powder to the one place you could never reach. Give it 3 days. The first day you will think it did nothing, because the line is still there, maybe thicker, because they have found a food source and they are telling all their friends, good, let them. By the second day, the line thins. By the third or fourth day, the trail is gone, because the nest is gone. Not scattered, gone. You do not need a different mound for every ant. One good station on the main trail does the work, because the ants themselves carry it the rest of the way. You are not the exterminator. They are. You just handed them the wrong groceries. My mother kept a little tin of this by the back door every spring. When the first scouts came in over the threshold after the thaw, out came the tin. She never once called anyone. She never bought a thing. It cost her nothing because the baking soda was already there for the bread and the sugar was already there for the pies, and that was the whole of it. Now, I told you we would get to why you have been paying for this all these years. So let us be plain about it. There is nothing wrong with a man earning a living. I want to say that first. But somewhere along the way, the outside world got sold a story. The story is that your home is under attack and you are helpless against it. That bugs are a science too complicated for an ordinary person. That you need a professional, a contract, a quarterly visit, a special blend of chemicals with a name you cannot pronounce. And folks believed it. Why would they not? The man on the television in the clean uniform sounds like he knows. The box at the store has a serious red label and a long list of warnings. And a long list of warnings makes a thing feel powerful. But think on what you are really buying. The average household in this country spends somewhere north of $150 a year on pest control. And many spend far more than that. $400, $500, $1,000 a year for a service contract that sends a man to walk for a problem your great-grandmother solved with the contents of her baking cabinet. That is the part that sits wrong with me. Not that someone sells a service, but that a whole industry has grown up around convincing good, capable people that they cannot do a simple thing themselves. That the knowledge their own grandparents had is somehow worthless now. That you must depend on them month after month, year after year, writing the check, because the day you stop is the day the bugs win. It is not true. It was never true. And the proof is that my people who never bought a single one of those products, who never signed a single one of those contracts, kept their homes clean of these pests for generation after generation with a powder that costs less than a postage stamp. Now, I can hear some of you already. You are thinking, this is fine for a person just moving into a clean house. But my home is 40 years old. The roaches have been in my walls since the Carter administration. The ants own my kitchen. You think a little baking soda is going to fix what years could not. I hear you. And I want to speak to you especially because you are the one who needs this most, and you are the one the industry counts on giving up. An old, established home is not a harder case. In some ways, it is easier because in an old home, you know exactly where they live. You have watched them. You know which corner the roaches come from. You know which window the ants march through every April. You have years of watching, and that watching is worth more than any inspection a man could do in 20 minutes with a flashlight. So this weekend, do this. You do not need to buy a thing. You walk your house slow, the way you would walk a fence line, looking for trouble. You find the 3 spots you already know the bugs favor: behind the refrigerator, under the kitchen sink, the bathroom where the damp is. And you make 3 little stations for the roaches, the soda, and the white sugar, equal parts in the dark, low places with a cap of water near each one. For the ants, the soda and the powdered sugar, fine and even, right on the trail where you see them walk. And here is the trick for an old home that a new home does not need. The old home has gaps, cracks in the baseboard, the space behind a loose bit of molding, a hole where a pipe comes through the wall and the caulk dried up and fell out years ago. Those gaps are the highways. So you take a little of your dry baking soda, plain, no sugar, and you puff it right into those cracks. A turkey baster works. An old squeeze bottle works. You blow a little cloud of it back into the dark where they nest. Why plain soda in the cracks and sweet soda out in the open? Because in the open, you need to lure them to eat it. But back in the wall, in the damp dark where they live and breed, the plain powder dries the place out and dusts their bodies as they crawl through, and they carry it deeper still. The dry powder makes the wall a place they no longer want to be. You are not just baiting them. You are making their home unlivable while you feed them poison they think is supper. Do that this weekend in the 3 worst spots and freshen it twice a week. And an old house that has fought bugs for 40 years will be quiet within the month. I have seen it. My uncle bought an old place outside Strasburg that had been empty 2 years, and it was thick with roaches when he took it. No spray, no truck, just the powder, the sugar, the water, and patience. By the first frost, you would not have known a bug had ever lived there. So why does the powder beat the spray when the spray costs 30 times as much? This is worth understanding, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. A spray kills on contact. It is fast. That is what they sell you. The speed, the satisfaction of watching the bug curl up. But fast is the weakness, not the strength. The bug dies right where you sprayed it out in the open, and it never goes home. The nest never learns. The queen never tastes a thing. So, tomorrow there are more, because you only ever killed the ones brave enough to be seen. And here is the worst part. The bugs learn the spray. Roaches in particular, the English researchers found this, and it troubled them greatly. There was a study done by entomologists at Purdue University and published back around 2013, where they tested the common roach against the bait and the chemicals folks use. And they found that the roaches had grown resistant, not just to one chemical. They watched roaches develop resistance to chemicals they had never even been exposed to in a single generation. A roach could become immune to a poison its parents never met. The bugs were evolving faster than the chemicals could keep up. Now, think on that. The thing you spray gets weaker every year because the bug gets smarter. But a roach cannot evolve its way out of the laws of gas and pressure. It cannot decide to start belching. The baking soda does not poison it in a way it can grow used to. It kills it with simple chemistry that no amount of evolution can outrun. The fancy chemical has an expiration date written into the bug itself. The baking soda never expires. That is the thing my grandfather understood without ever reading a study. He just knew that the old way kept working year after year, while the neighbors who switched to the new products were back at the store every season buying something stronger. He used to say the bug was smarter than the chemist, but not smarter than the kitchen. I did not understand him then. I do now. So let me give you a few more things the careful folks know, the small mistakes that make the difference between this working and you giving up too soon. First, keep it dry until it is time. The number one reason this fails for people is moisture. They lay the powder down at night, they mop in the morning out of habit, and the water ruins the line before a single bug crosses it. So put your stations where the mop does not reach and leave them be. The roach works at night when you are asleep. Trust that it is working even when you see nothing. Second, cleanliness matters more than you think, and it costs nothing. A roach and an ant both come for one thing: food and water. If your counter has crumbs, if there is a dish in the sink overnight, if the dog's water bowl sits full all day, you have given them a better meal than your trap. So before you lay the powder, take away the competition, wipe the counters dry at night, put the food away, fix the dripping faucet, even just a rag tied around it to catch the drip. A hungry bug eats your bait, a well-fed bug walks past it, make them hungry, and the soda does the rest. Third, be patient past the point where you want to quit. Most folks who say this did not work for them quit on day 4, right when it is about to work. The workers and the scouts die first, and that is the part you see. But the nest takes a little longer. Give it the full 2 weeks for roaches, the full week for ants, and freshen it as it goes. The slowness is the strength. The slow kill is what lets the bug carry it home to the ones you cannot see. Fourth, do not mix it with vinegar or lemon thinking you will make it stronger. I know the internet loves to tell you to mix things, but baking soda and vinegar cancel each other out. They fizz on your counter, and then they are nothing but salt water. Plenty of folks have wondered why their homemade remedy did nothing, and it is because they neutralized their own medicine before they laid it down. Keep the soda with sweet. That is all. Sweet to lure, soda to kill. Now, I promised you something at the start. The thing my grandfather did that the outside world forgot. The finish that makes all the rest of this work even better. So lean in, because this is the part nobody at the store will ever tell you, and very few, even on the internet, seem to know. It has to do with when you lay it down. My grandfather did not just put the powder out any old time. He laid his fresh stations at dusk, right as the sun went behind the barn, every time. And as a boy, I thought it was just his habit, the way old men have their habits. But there was a reason, and it is a real reason, and the science of it backs him up. The roach and the ant are most active in the dark, in the first hours of the night. The roach especially. It hides all day and comes out to forage in the few hours after dark, and there is real research on this. Scientists who study the roach found that it follows a strong internal clock, a circadian rhythm, and that its hunger and its foraging peak in the early part of the night. There was work done on this going back decades, even research published out of universities studying how the roach times its feeding to the dark. So if you lay fresh, dry, sweet bait right at dusk, you are setting the table at the exact hour the bug is hungriest and boldest. The bait is freshest, the sweet smell is strongest, right when 10 times as many bugs are out walking looking for supper. Lay the same bait at 9 in the morning, and by dusk it has been sitting 12 hours, dried out, less fragrant, and half of it has been disturbed. That is the secret. Not just what you put down, when you put it down. Fresh bait at dusk. My grandfather knew it as surely as he knew when to bring the cows in. And the English are only now, with all their instruments, confirming what the man knew from a lifetime of watching. There is one more piece to it, and this is the finish of the finish. He never put the bait in the same spot 2 seasons running without moving it a little, because a bug, dumb as it is, learns the location of danger over time and routes around it. So he shifted his stations a hand's width every couple of weeks. Same general place, behind the stove, under the sink, but never the exact same spot. Keep the bait moving just a little, and the bug never learns to avoid it. It is a small thing. It is the difference between a remedy that works for a month and one that keeps a house clean for years. Dusk, fresh, sweet, and moved a little each time. That is the whole of what my people knew, handed down from a time before any of us could buy our way out of a problem, when you solved a thing yourself or you lived with it. So here is what I want you to take from all this beyond the bugs. You were told you needed them. The truck, the contract, the chemical with the warning label. You were told that you, a grown person who keeps a home and pays a mortgage, could not handle a beetle the size of a thumbnail without professional help. And you believed it because everyone around you believed it, and the believing cost you a few $100s every single year for as long as you have owned a home. But you never needed any of it. The answer was a yellow box in your cabinet the whole time, the same box your grandmother had, the same box my grandmother lined her summer kitchen with 60 years ago. You did not lose this knowledge because it stopped working. You lost it because someone profited from your forgetting it, and tonight you took it back. You are the kind of person who would rather do a thing right and cheap with your own 2 hands than be sold an expensive version of what nature already gave you for free. That is not being cheap, that is being wise. That is the plainest kind of good sense there is, and it is the way my people have lived for hundreds of years, and we are not poorer for it, we are freer. So this weekend, go find that box. Mix the white sugar and the soda for the roaches, the powdered sugar and the soda for the ants. Lay your stations at dusk in the spots you already know. Set out the little cap of water. Keep it dry, keep it fresh, and be patient 3 days longer than you want to. Then watch your house go quiet. And do me that one favor I asked at the start. Down in the comments, tell me what you are fighting. Type the word roaches, or type the word ants, or type both, and tell me what state you are in, because I truly do read them, and I want to see where the trouble is worse this year. Do not be shy about it. A man with a bug problem is in good company here. If this helped you, if it gave you back a little something that was quietly taken from you over the years, then come along with us, not to support some channel. To stand with the folks who have decided they will not keep overpaying for what the good Lord and a little common sense already provide. There are more of us than you would think, and we are remembering the old ways one at a time. Next time, I am going to show you the one plain thing my grandmother kept on the windowsill that no fly would cross all summer long, with the windows wide open and not a screen in sight. No spray, no strip, no trap. Just one ordinary thing on the sill that the flies would not pass. It is simpler than you would believe, and it is sitting in your kitchen right now too. Until then, go set your table at dusk. The bugs are hungry. Let them eat what your great-grandmother would have fed them, and let your house be quiet again, the plain way, the way it was always meant to be. And let me leave you with a few last things, because once you start down this road, you will find there is more to it than just the bugs. The same box does more than you know. A spoon of it in a cup of warm water cleans a counter better than the sprays you pay good money for, and it leaves nothing behind that you would not want near your bread. A little of it in the bottom of your trash can keeps the smell down in the heat of summer, the smell that draws the flies and the ants in the first place. My grandmother kept an open dish of it in the cellar where the canning sat, and the damp never turned to that musty smell other folks complained of. That is the way of the old knowledge. One simple thing does 10 jobs, and you stop needing the 10 products that each do only one. That is what the outside world traded away without knowing it. They filled their cabinets with a different bottle for every little task, and they forgot that their grandmothers ran a whole clean house on vinegar, salt, soda, and scents. You have that sense. You always did. Now you have the recipe too. So go on and use it, and let the man with the truck drive right on past your door.